I'm Nelson Martin, and I moved to Sopchoppy in 1972. That was the year that Charles Kuralt came to Sopchoppy to do a story on the worm grunting. That's what really put Sopchoppy on the map. When we were trying to organize a festival and wondering what theme we should have, that seemed like the obvious one to me. So we started it in 2001. It's just grown exponentially, gotten very wide publicity. It's really been a boom for the little town of Sopchoppy, and it's become a wonderful thing to bring the whole town together. It's demonstrating a livelihood that was really widespread here, especially in the 60s and 70s and before plastic worms came around. It was a really big industry. The middle of the day in Sopchoppy was absolute traffic jam every day when all the worm grunters returned to Sopchoppy after being out in the woods before dawn, and they would go to the general store there where the worm broker, Myron Hodge, would buy all the worms, and he went around Georgia mostly selling worms for fishing. These worms are really the best bait. There's still people doing it, and there are still a market, but it's much smaller. And these are Native American worms, which is very rare. There were 0 worms north of the Mason-Dixon line until the English brought them in plants. All of their worms are invasives. So only in this part of the southeast are there any native worms. Almost everybody in Sopchoppy has some connection to the worm business. Well, they used a wooden stop and a chunk of steel, and you tap this stop into the ground and rub the iron across it, and it begins to make a little vibration. You can actually feel it standing 15 feet away. The worms come up within about a 35-meter radius of where you're grunting. We had some scientists come here in 2008 to test one of Charles Darwin's theories that was never tested. They discussed worm grunting in England in the 1880s, and most people thought, well, they flee vibrations because they think a storm is coming. Darwin said, I don't think so. I think they are fleeing a predator, such as a mole. And so this scientist from the University of California came here for 2 weeks, did exhaustive testing, and they used our local worm broker and worm grunter, Gary Rebel. So he went out in the woods. They put geophones in the ground and marked every place a worm came up after he did this grunting. Then a little while later, they tested it by introducing a mole into the ground in the same spot, and almost the identical thing happened. They did numerous tests, and that's the only thing that would make a worm want to leave the safe earth and crawl up where he's vulnerable to sunshine and birds and ants and lizards and fishermen. So they absolutely proved Darwin's theory correct. These worms only exist in this region, Apalachicola Forest area. So we're planning another worm festival on April 9th. We didn't have one last year with COVID, but everybody's excited about bringing the festival back to Sopchoppy. We have the official worm grunting contest in the morning, and there's a 5K race very early. Music all day long. It's a full day of entertainment.